What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 sleepers for this week's Farmers Insurance Open. These are golfers a little bit further down the betting board, down the player pool, that I think might be overlooked or just undervalued for this week. My goal is to point out a couple of names you might not have considered thus far. Of course, you can go back and watch my full DFS preview from Monday or the full betting preview that will be out on Tuesday. Otherwise, join me on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time for the live chat on RickRunGood YouTube channel. For all final questions and answers, and then the Jock Market Power Hour at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday as well. All right, let's do it. Let's jump into this week's sleepers. First is Brooks Koepka. He's $9,400. He's 36-1 to win this golf tournament, and I obviously don't think he's necessarily a sleeper, and in fact, I don't really like him for DFS purposes, but for an outright bet, 36-1 is pretty interesting. You've got to consider that, finishing second or second to last doesn't really matter if you're betting outright. So that's why I'd prefer to avoid him in DFS, because there is a huge missed cut equity, but also a fairly sizable win equity for Brooks Koepka, who just split with Claude Harmon, his swing coach. He obviously feels like he needs to go in a different direction. And the one thing that we've noticed about Brooks, that we've seen from Brooks over the last couple of years, is usually at some of these tougher courses, of course, major championships, that's where he really thrives, where there's a lot of adversity. It's not necessarily a birdie fest, and that's what I expect to see out of Torrey Pines this week. Obviously, it's not a major championship, but it's the closest thing we get to a major championship in a regular tour stop, and it will be the host of the U.S. Open this summer. So Brooks there for some early reconnaissance, and I think he can certainly pay off some of that win equity at 36-1. This is your reminder that Will Zalatoris is teeing it up this week. He is 70-1 to win the Farmers Insurance Open. He's $8,100 on DraftKings. And what's so interesting about Willie Z is that there is little information on him, right? When you look at the amount of data that we have on some of these other guys, a year, 2 years worth of strokes gained information, we don't have that. I believe that Will Zalatoris has 26 measured rounds because he played the U.S. Open. I think he played in Bermuda, so we don't have the shot link data from Bermuda. And of course, he was just dominant on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. There are a lot of people who believe that Will Zalatoris, already with his skill set, is essentially a top 25 player. I think that's a little bit aggressive, but I don't think it's crazy. What we've seen from him in his short stint on the PGA Tour is nothing short of awesome. He needs to work on that short game, which has me a little bit concerned this week at Torrey Pines, which can provide a bit of awkwardness around and on the greens, but he is a great ball striker. Looking forward to his 2021 campaign, and I think it starts right now. I think he makes a lot of noise. It doesn't matter how deep this field is, like we saw at the U.S. Open, and it doesn't matter how difficult this course is, like we saw at the U.S. Open. Will Zalatoris can find a way to put his name on the first page of the leaderboard. Gary Woodland is next. He's 70-1. He's $7,800 on DraftKings. And if we want to reset guys back to their long-term form, like we've been doing over the course of the past couple of weeks, since most guys took a lot of time off before they started their 2021 campaign, then we have to consider Gary Woodland as an interesting and viable play. He had that torn labrum in his hip that really set him back. I think he tried to play some tournaments through it. He tried to play, I believe, the Masters through it, and it just wasn't pretty, right? A lot of really ugly events at the second half of 2020 for Gary Woodland, but he's back at it again. He finished in the top 20 last week at the American Express, and the skill set that he possesses when healthy is one that should be a really good fit for Torrey Pines. He is long off the tee. He is accurate off the tee. He can club down when necessary, and we've seen the putter get hot at times. That is generally a good recipe for success around Torrey Pines. So very interested to see the trajectory for him moving forward. But if he starts contending again, these prices are going to get worse. I'm trying to be early on Gary Woodland rather than late. So for me, this week, he's very interesting. Let's take a look at Billy Horschel, who is 66-1 to win this golf tournament, unless you're at DraftKings Sportsbook, where he's like 33-1. That's crazy. So you should shop this number. Don't get it on DraftKings. But Billy Horschel, 66-1 on most other books. He's $8,200 on DraftKings for DFS purposes. And This is not a name that I talk about often because he's anti really everything that I like. He relies on the short game. He relies on the putter. But if there's ever going to be a place where I want good putters, it's Torrey Pines. These subtleties in the greens, the Poana greens that bud over the course of the day make it more difficult as these rounds get later and later. There are going to be missed short putts that are missed all week long. So you do need good putting. And that's exactly what Billy Horschel has. That's also in turn resulted in 2 top 10 finishes in the last 5 trips to Torrey Pines. In his last 3 starts, he has a 7th at the Sony. He has a 5th at Mayakoba. He's playing well. This is a course that should set up well for him and historically has. For the first time ever, I think I'll say it, Billy Horschel, super interesting this week. And then finally, I'm going right back to the well. Kramer Hickok. He's $6,800. He's 250 to 1 to win this golf tournament. Is he going to win at Torrey Pines? No, very unlikely. Is he going to contend? I don't know. Maybe. If he finishes in the top 20, he is certainly going to pay off his value. He's got a 21st place finish and a 19th place finish in the last 2 weeks. And more notably, the way that he has played in the last 2 weeks has been awesome. He led the field in strokes gained off the tee at the American Express in the 3 measured rounds that all golfers had at the stadium course. And the week before at the Sony, 5th in strokes gained off the tee. This guy is really working it with the driver right now, and now he's going to go to a course that demands you be good off the tee. So he was already hitting it well. Now he goes to a place that will penalize those that are not hitting it in the fairway, who are not gaining strokes off the tee. And I think that sets up well for Hickok. If he can continue to drive the ball like he has in the last 2 weeks, I think he's in really good shape to pay off that value. Doesn't need to do much. Maybe make the cut. If he gets anything inside the top 20, it is all gravy. And I think he's an interesting deep sleeper for this week's Farmers. There you go. My top 5 sleepers for this week's Farmers Insurance Open. Let me know who I'm right on. Let me know who I'm wrong on. Tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below, and I'll see you on Wednesday for the live chats.